We are live and very excited to be joined for another episode of Beyond Barriers. Beyond Barriers is a conversation with leaders and evangelists to talk about the challenges of navigating an effective accessibility strategy. In these conversations, guests get to share their journey of challenges and setbacks with a primary focus on how they've overcome these specific obstacles. My name is Brian Gavin. I'm the co-founder of Wally, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Alexa Cruz. Alexa, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for reaching out to me. I really appreciate this space, and I think this podcast is amazing. Yeah.
I'm glad that I found you and your skill sets and the background that you have in accessibility. So why don't we start? I always like to kick off getting to know you a little bit. Tell me about how you became a leader in the accessibility space. What got your feet wet, and how have you kept up to speed with what's changing?
Okay, sure. Well, my name is Alexa. I'm from Costa Rica. I'm a senior designer and UX designer. I have more than 7 years of experience in this industry of design and advertising, and that allowed me to work with different companies such as Amazon, PGD, and also to provide my services as a freelancer. And in terms of answering your question about how I came to be a leader in accessibility, um, it can be tricky. I don't have a straightforward answer for that, but I remember myself being in college when I was around 22 years old, and I decided to attend a talk about accessibility. And for me, it was amazing. I really enjoyed that experience. And then a couple years after that, I had the opportunity to work with Amazon in a part of the company that works with ads and for different clients and brands. And I noticed that there was a huge area of improvement in the way that the designers use the colors. So together with one of my closest colleagues, Sharon, we decided to study the topic and to create a training for that.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I'm having a little bit of an internal laugh, because as a creative, going and changing the colors and going to other designers and going to other creatives and saying, hey, we want to standardize what blue means, or what this hex of blue means. What was that conversation like?
Yeah, it was tricky at the beginning. Like, I mean, accessibility is a huge topic, like accessibility is not only colors. There are a lot of things to take into consideration. So I think for the designers, as also like me, I'm a designer. I love colors. I love shapes. So I think it's a huge um, curve of learning curve. But yeah, at the end it was great. And yeah, even though being here, it can be challenging for myself, and also a little bit intimidating, since English is my second language. For me, it's important to speak up, and also it's important, especially being Latin and a female voice.
How does that affect the conversation or the impact?
With the designers?
Yeah.
Well, we create a workshop for our peers in San Jose, in India, and in Japan. And we divided the topics with color meaning, and then fonts, and like we try to mitigate that curve. But I think in that organization, all the designers had the open mind, and they are amazing. So at the end was a great experience.
I can imagine working with a global team, and in some way, this is almost like philosophical, right? Like there's a look and feel as a designer that you hold yourself accountable to, but then there's also a standard, and in some ways there's math, right? So
Yes.
globally, working with these team members, how did you drive the alignment and come to a set of agreements?
Well, that is a good question. At Amazon, we had a platform. So we basically try to, mm, like, we upload all the content in videos in a platform, and then we had like meetings with the different teams to sync with each others. And yeah, also we share some tools like color analyzer. I don't know if you know that tool. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
one of the most popular, and it's really good. And yeah, basically communication is key.
What was the biggest learning that you had going from a passion project, and that's great that you had the exposure at the academic level, to an organization like Amazon, that's a prestigious organization from a design perspective, driving this change? What did you learn?
I learned a lot. I don't have
Right?
like straight answer for that. Um, but I don't know. Like for me, it's the main reason to be accessible is because I think everyone deserves to have um, access to the information, no matter who you are, no matter your context or your disability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the most important learning that I had.
Is that the and what drives your passion for this?
In which terms? Like,
Well, going through the additional education that you have, and for the first time ever, and we talked about this before we started, my dog is with me. If he decides to come on camera, he will. But if I'm squirming in my chair, that was good. Sorry about that. No, and I guess to come back to focus, the level of passion to go from a space where you needed to obtain the knowledge, understand the impacts, rally team members around the world. I mean, there was a self drive for you, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't know. Like, I think that experience was a great first step. Like,
Mm.
um, and I don't know. I think there are a lot of things to improve, but the key is to do it in the process. Like, have the knowledge, have the I don't know, the basis uh, is important. So I think
Mm. Can you share? I'm curious, like from a technology standpoint, right? You said there was storing photos or storing videos, storing creative assets, or any of the tooling, the color analyzer. Was there particular methods or tool sets that you found to be super helpful in scaling?
in terms of colors and like color and contrast, I think color analyzer and Adobe Color is
Mm.
really helpful. Like, and for some reason, the people think that those tools are really expensive, but they are free. Like, um,
Yeah.
yeah, and there are another tools that we can use for put like to add scripts and subtitles in the videos. But yeah,
Has it changed your understanding and your awareness of accessibility, right? Do you think it's changed who you are as a designer, made you a better designer?
yeah, for sure. I am a better designer. I'm a better person, and I think for me right now, it's not an option. Like, it's a must.
Yeah. So many of the learnings that I've had since Beyond Barrier started was how many innovations from a creative, a technical, just implementation standpoint have
Mhm.
furthered everyone's experience. And I think that's like such like a thing that for folks that are questioning or otherwise,
Mhm.
does this scale, does this make an impact? It's like there's so many examples, the curb and the rumble strip, or Alexa and other things that were meant for accessibility out of the beginning have now scaled to everyone. So
Yeah.
you fast forward from Amazon, your learnings at other organizations that you were a member of. What were some of the challenges you came across from an implementation, a scale
Mhm.
perspective? How did you manage what was happening? People in Japan and India.
Okay. Yeah, I think in general, the main challenge is related with the standardization. Like,
Mm.
um, I think there is a lack of universal standards. So, at the end, there are a lot of people needs. There are a lot of disabilities, and that is a challenge. And another thing is, I don't know, here in Costa Rica, for example, we don't have an organization that works for regulate who can bring those services as a designers. So in the end, there are people offering those services, and they don't have the knowledge to take into consideration AX standards. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a huge problem, I think so.
Any recommendation to the problem?
My recommendation is that accessibility is easy, like and it's free. Like, add subtitles, add, like, pay attention to the colors. Is easy at the end, and
Mm-hmm.
it can be tricky at the beginning, but it's like, also I was thinking that a couple weeks ago, I was thinking to myself that if you are business owner, or if you are a brand that don't take into consideration the accessibility, probably you are losing sales. Probably your ads does, like, don't work in the good, in the best way. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end, be accessible is a win for everyone.
So at the like high level, the lack of standard, and I'm still curious. Like you were able to standardize it for people in India and people in Japan. How did you do that?
Well, it was teamwork, like, communication, trying to have like POCs in different areas of the
So
of
a lot of testing.
yeah.
Hmm. And so, um, a lot of what we've shared is in the successes that you've accomplished. What are some of the challenges?
Challenges. I think the biggest challenge is, okay. I'm thinking in two scenarios. The first one is sharing the knowledge with the people that don't know anything about accessibility. At the beginning, like, it can be tricky. There's a lot of information, so that can be the first challenge. And the second one is, like, sometimes sharing the knowledge with people that are designer. It can be frustrating, like, as I mentioned before at the beginning. Like, I'm a designer, I love colors, I love shapes, and for some reason, for example, I love the combination of red and pink. I love it, but for me, it's not an option have a red background with a pink text, because that is not accessible at all.
Hmm.
um, yeah, try to communicate the importance and it,
It it's such like a fine line between the passion that, I don't know, is it learned passion, or is it innate in who you are passion? But we can save that for a different topic. But t balancing that aspect of the passion that we talked about before with sort of a standard and a set of guardrails that you need to operate in. So the knowledge sharing, right? I think that hits the nail on the head. If you can take your own information, that the passion that you have to go out and learn this, which I have to say, you're the third person this week that I've spoken to that at the collegiate academic level, accessibility was taught.
wow.
Most people that I and by taught, I mean there are courses that as an undergrad or post grad you can take that incorporates this conversation into the curriculum. I don't know, maybe I've been talking to the wrong group of folks, but like 90% or more of folks, I mean, I didn't have accessibility a part of any level of course, and I don't think I'm archaic in any nature, like the I feel like if there was more exposure on that side where joining a workforce at the collegiate, the high school, and intermediate levels, to have that exposure, because the awareness and the roundabout that you have versus myself. I mean, I'm certainly growing, but like it makes you a more well-rounded designer, a more I can't even say it, more rounded developer, what have you. So that's impressive. Um,
Yeah, agree.
it sounds like in most of the cases and the challenges that you've had, it's been kind of up to yourself to solve that challenge, right? Like you formed a focus group from folks around the world. You took on the training. How has the support from the businesses and the companies that you worked for changed over time? Do you find that there's more encouragement, um, or set of resources that are available to you to grow
Yeah,
in this space?
yeah. Well, I remember that. Well, along with Sharon, we had some meetings with some other teams in the company, like, and that was key to understand what we can do and what works at the end. And I think, I don't know, like, teamwork was really great for us. And yeah, I don't know.
Every You share so much interesting conversation that I want to go back again to ask the challenges that the different groups that you spoke to with, right? There are different skill sets across the organization, right?
Mhm.
Were they shared challenges? Did everyone have a unique challenge?
Hmm. Well, to be honest, I don't remember like a example right now, but
Mm,
I remember that when we were sharing, like, we had some focus groups with different, like with India, with Japan,
mm,
and probably it's like cultural, like an, I don't know. It was most challenging share everything with that part of the world, but I think it's because um the language, the the basis and everything, it's different. And
mm.
I think that that was a challenge, but everyone has good, like, everyone has good a good actitude
Intention.
intent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fairly basic principle, but it's something that needs to be done, which is the focus group conversation, right? Like you're in an organization where it's well intended, smart, motivated individuals, and so you get together in an area that in many ways, accessibility, and maybe it's arguably any topic, but when you don't know much about it, you get uncomfortable, right? Like
Yeah.
you may want to avoid it, you may not participate as much. So I think that change that you're driving is amazing.
Yeah, and also I think another challenge was with the clients. Like I had some I've had some experiences where, for example, the color palette was not accessible, or the fonts that they use are not legible. So trying to explain the importance sometimes, and speak up and bring my opinion and my recommendations as a professional is a challenge. Sometimes I receive a no as an answer, and which is sad, but it is what it is. Like it's like I think that is a huge area of like improvement, I think so.
Well, and I mean, the sheer fact of like, you're dealing with a client, right? So you're a vendor in many capacities, you're a partner, you're trusted. But to go back and to ask for these types of changes, it's intimidating whether
Yeah.
there was, maybe it was just your own expression, but then it's like, hey, this is the right thing to do. This makes for a better experience. Um, are there other challenges or successes that you've gone through that are, we want to share?
mm, well, no, I think, like as I mentioned before, having like take into consideration accessibility topics
Mm,
makes a difference in the numbers that your ad can have. Like, yeah, maybe that.
mm. So what are the biggest disruptions coming to accessibility?
That is a interesting question. I will say that multidisciplinary. Like, right now we have a lot of tools. We have access to different channels, like this podcast. Like a few years ago, like we don't have we didn't have this space, and is great. And also collaboration, like right now you can see not only designers, you can see people that work on technology, and like a manager, like an access managers, and taking those topics into consideration, and that is great. And the reality is that this generation, like millennials and Gen Z, are more conscious about inclusivity and accessibility, and that is really great.
You hit the nail on the head for the executives that are needing a little arm twisting, right? That this is important, and that it's not just about compliance, right? It's about having that really good experience. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know that I could handle many more apps on my iPhone at this point, but um, you're totally right that there's going to be more experiences that you can engage in, and that's going to bring new challenges. So. Um, I always like to wrap up by just asking if there's anything that you want to talk about, bring up, that we didn't get to, because the, it's an open conversation. The mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Well, no, I just wanted to add that, as I mentioned before, being accessible, it's everyone deserves to have access to the information. And it's really easy, it's free, you can do it. And yeah, just to like I, I I just wanted to thank you for reaching out to me again. Like, I really appreciate it. I think there are no many resources that talk about accessibility in the way that you and your podcast does. So I really appreciate that.
Oh,
Brain.
those are kind words, Alexa. Thank you. You've put together a lot of inspiration, and for everyone that's listening, I said it I think 3 times, but your passion, right, and the conviction, and that's what makes, I mean, these episodes so fun, right? Like the conviction that you speak with and the ease that you went on, and I mean it's a totally different, in some ways, language, and that's what, Wally's job and goal is to do, is to make this language available to everyone, but the experiences, right, that you create are that much better. So Alexa, it was so nice getting to know you, speaking with you today. Thank you, and be well.
Yeah, you too.